Hi, my name's Demara, and I'm going to be talking today about cutting the ties that bind. And this is a really interesting subject with different variations of when we use this and exactly how we do it. This is something that's been talked about for decades and has been used. And this morning, we actually pulled the card with codependent relationships and boundaries, highlighting boundaries. And this was the Starseed Oracle card for the day. And this morning, when I was shuffling the cards and this one came out, I was actually told that this was on another level. So what I suggested with that card is that you actually do cut the ties, and I'll explain a little bit more in a while about how you do that. But recently I had been informed by excuse me, I've got incense burning here because this is a really important topic. And when we start talking about things like this, we are talking about dark forces and light forces, high vibration, low vibration. So it's a really good idea to make this the time that you burn incense to cleanse the space, which I've gone round and carried out. It's making me cough now. But this is really important, as I have found out over the last 9 months. But going back to the cutting of the ties, when I usually inform people about being able to straighten out the ties that they're under and the connections that they have that may not be right now and may not be corded in the right way. Recently, what I was just about to tell you was that recently I had been told by upstairs, by the divine, that we should be shrinking the cords in normal relationships. Like, now this is, when I say normal, I'm talking about a relationship where things have ended and you feel or they feel still pulled by the emotion and it's affecting you. And what's a good idea there is to just visualize, close your eyes, see the person standing in front of you and visualize what's happening there. Where are the cords from all the energy centers, starting with the sexual base center, the sacral center, the solar plexus, coming up to the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown chakra. And you will be able to see the cords. If it may be in just an outline or it may be in full effect. Some people can actually see the thickness of the cords and everything. And what I was told was that we should not be cutting those cords in those normal type situations, those normal type relationships, but we should be shrinking them. And I could totally see the reason why, because we are in a collective, the human collective, and we are working towards that conscious feeling of being at one with everyone in the collective. And if we cut the cords, we're actually cutting ourselves out of that normal connection. So shrinking the cords has been my way for some time now when advising other people. But this morning was a completely different situation with that card. And it was, you had the love. I think that was the name of the card. Although what it's really about, it's like you had the love because you have the love of yourself. But what you're looking at there to heal is the boundaries and the codependencies. And this was the card that came out, but they were telling me as this came out and as I did the video that this was on a different level. These are for the people who are in strong karmic relationships and who are having difficulty with the final let goes of that. They know that it's ended on some levels, but they're being pulled back in. And this is because when it's attached to karmics, you can be totally bound in a lower vibrational energy way, a very dark way. And it may even be that there are dark magic being used here to bind you. When somebody who is a karmic, who has no light or hardly any light in their life and don't occupy that space themselves, and they're there as a dark force, which is not going to allow you to end the relationship. And this is when you really do need to cut the ties. And this means that when you're visualizing the person in front of you, you visualize the cords and then you cut them. And you use whatever device comes into your mind at the time. And this may be a pair of small scissors, this may be a pair of large shears, and this may be a chopper, you know, a machete. Because these can appear as very heavy, loaded cords. And I remember in the past having great difficulty cutting certain ties and having to really use brute force in my mind's eye to do it on certain areas. And in particular with karmic energies and karmic relationships that you're still involved in, although you may be desperately trying to let go of it and get away, then, you know, it will be quite heavily corded on the sexual area, because this is used in sexual magic too. And this is the one that you may have to have a real, you know, heavy instrument, heavy cutting tool. And I mean, this may all sound crazy to those who have never experienced this. And I must say here, until 9 months ago, I knew a lot about cutting the cords, shrinking the cords, all of that. But I had never had things happen to me that have happened in the background. And I'm going to say the background because I've very rarely had any full impact of anything that's been thrown at me, but there's been a lot thrown at me. And this started to happen as soon as I came onto YouTube with all of my channeled information, my advice on the fast track to the cosmic consciousness pathway, which is on the playlist, all of this. And it was coming from parties, people that were connected to somebody who I had known in the past and had a divine connection with. So you never know what's going to happen. But before that, I had never really burnt incense to clear my space. I never needed to. I had a very clear path and had been working on my own pathway, my own spiritual path, and advancing on that for decades, and with no real bad intent, except for a couple of incidences that occurred under psychic attack. And I have explained that on one of the videos about when you're emotionally all over the place and then you're really, really vulnerable to psychic attack. And that happened like 35 years ago to me, and I really learned from that never to allow myself to be in that all over the place emotional state. And that's what really pushed me on to work so hard and be so disciplined on my path. But what we're talking about here is really the next level, which I know that the reason I've had to go through that is because of the pathway I've taken, and that I have to be aware of it. I have to actually be aware that there is a dark force and that it can come at you through other people. And so really make sure that if you are in what we would call strong karmic binds, and that you've been bound by somebody, that you need to cut the cords. And you need to visualize that, see it clearly, and cut all of the cords. But the ones that are going to be hardest is where you are totally tethered to that other person. And as I said, it can be very much on the sexual chakra, that those cords are really thick and really tied in. but also on the emotional side. So that would also be the solar plexus. And these are all going to be on the lower side, aren't they? Because when you have karmic ties, there's not a lot of heart included in that. And there's certainly not a lot of spiritual. So above the waistline, your chakras are probably okay, but they can't receive the energy. So it doesn't help you to open your heart if you're still corded to a karmic on the 3 lower chakras. So I hope this has helped you. I don't want this to be a long video, because this is for particular people who are dealing with karmic situations where they really need to understand how to deal with this. And I truly hope that this helps you, because for myself, I was quite shocked when it started, but I was getting guidance all the way through, and I have incredible protection from what I call upstairs, the higher beings, because of the channeling and the path that I took. So I have been really well looked after, and some people need to understand that too, and to really get disciplined on their spiritual paths. But thank you for allowing me into your sacred space today, and make sure that you're keeping that a sacred space by cutting the ties if you need to with any of the dark forces, the karmic beings that are around you. And please subscribe so that we can get this video out to many more people who need to hear this. And have a great day, and make sure that you're putting those disciplines in. If you really need to get yourself sorted out with your spiritual disciplines, that's the first thing to do. Thank you again.